Well, good morning everyone from Jeff's Little Engine Service. So here we have another piece of crap John Deere lawnmower that it's had a few problems this time around. I had to replace a cable, clean out the fuel system to get it running, but it still doesn't run quite right, and we have a bit of a vibration. I thought I didn't balance the blade correctly, so I took it off and balanced it again, but it still shakes a lot. But mostly it kind of doesn't run right. It's like it skips a little bit or something. So it's a 22-inch cut JS26. So it's not just the vibration that concerns me, it's the fact that the engine seems like it doesn't run quite right. I'll let you listen to it. And as I mentioned, I already cleaned out the fuel system, new spark plug, air filter, all of that, but it still doesn't run quite right. Kind of hard to start. Should start easier than that with this auto choke. So you can see what I mean. It kind of skips every now and then and just doesn't seem like it's running quite right. So I'm sure we all think that it's the fuel system, but I don't think so. Because of the fact that this one has a vibration that goes along with it, I think we might have a sheared or partially sheared flywheel key. So diagnosing a partially sheared flywheel key can be pretty difficult. Now when the flywheel key shears entirely, what will happen when you're trying to start it is that it'll rip that pull rope right out of your hands. And sometimes it hurts pretty good. So if when you try to start your mower, if it rips that rope out of your hand, that's a good indication that the flywheel key is sheared. So these are just Phillips head screws that hold this cover on. We'll take off this cover, this cover, these bolts are 5/16. I use a 5/16 socket for these bolts, or an 8mm. You have 3 of them here. I don't know if you can see, but I have a pretty nasty injury on my hand. That darn lawnmower fought back the other day, and I won, but it got me pretty good. Oh, we also have to loosen up this oil dipstick, which is still this 5/16 socket. Oops. Well, you can see I lost one of the bolts down into there on top of the flywheel, which is not good. But I'm taking this whole cover off, so I'll get to it then. Don't forget about it, otherwise it'll get stuck to that magnet and cause problems. Then after you remove that bolt, you basically just lift up on the whole dipstick, just enough to twist it out of the way like that. That's how I do it. And then with my 3/8 Take off these bolts. And there's two back here. Alright, we're almost to the flywheel. So this thing should just lift right off now. Sometimes it gets stuck up in front here. There we go. There's our little bolt. And one of the first things I want to do is take the spark plug cap off so we don't have any emergencies occur. So the socket that fits is a 24 millimeter. I couldn't get an American Standard to fit. So removing this nut is much easier if you have one of these. Otherwise you have to figure out a way to hold this flywheel. As you can see, that's the way to do it. Okay, let's see what we have here. So if you look close, so you can see you have your slot in your shaft right here, and then the key has shifted. So it definitely has a, that's not partially sheared, that's a fully sheared flywheel key. I'm surprised this thing still ran. Here's a little better view of it. See how the key is sheared away from the slot in the shaft? We have to fix that. So let's go ahead and take this flywheel off. So to remove this flywheel, you do have to have special tools. And the tools that you need, it's one of these. These are called knockoff tools. I have two sizes, and that's got me by for 20 years. So this one looks like the big size. So here's how the knockoff tool works. You basically just thread it on all the way to the bottom, and then you back it off, about 3/4 of a turn, or a turn. Get your favorite hammer here. This is my favorite hammer. And a pry bar, but you want to be careful when you're prying that you don't damage anything. So what I usually do is find a spot back here, just where you kind of pry up a little bit on it. And while you're prying up, you give her a good whack. I think we got it. Yep. Oops, you might have to pull the handle up at the top to get the shoe off. There we go. You can see we're still good, and you can see we're still good up in the flywheel here. No damage to the keyway or anything, so that's good. And yeah, I guess what we do have here is a partially sheared flywheel key. That's why it's a little hard to diagnose. When they're fully sheared, you notice it because when you're trying to start it, it'll rip the rope right out of your hand. And sometimes it'll rip your fingers with it. Alright, so now we just need to get this piece out of here. And my local hardware store had the flywheel keys. I usually keep a few on hand, but I was out. This one comes in a 3-pack. So there we have the damaged key, and there we have a brand new key. We're just going to put this new key right in here. Just like that. Put your cap back on, and then we have to tighten this to a specific torque. There's a lot of grease built up by this governor arm, so I'm going to clean some of that off. Probably needs a new seal up in here, but I'm sure the customer doesn't want to pay for that. So now we just got to get that nut, put it on there. Look up our torque spec. Alright, so I looked it up, and 55 foot-pounds is the magic number. Well, there's a few different ways you can hold the flywheel to tighten it up. What you don't want to do is put a wedge in between these fins and try to hold the flywheel, because they will break. I think how I'm going to do it is just by grabbing onto the blade here. Probably would be a good idea to wear a glove if you were doing this. And you can probably hold the blade hard enough to get 55 foot-pounds here. Sorry folks, I forgot to put on the camera, but I gapped the coil. You can look at some of my other videos if you need that procedure, but I gap it at 12 thousandths. Alright, there's the missing bolt. No matter how many times I do this, I always lose a bolt. Bend this back into position here. Tighten up these bolts first. And I kind of get them all snug before I cinch them down, just to make sure nothing gets cockeyed. Not too tight, you can break them, strip them. Don't want to do either. Cinch this baby down, and we can put the gas tank back on. Alright, let's see how it runs now. That's an improvement anyways. Still feels like it's vibrating a lot. I think they probably bent the shaft, but I think the mower is usable in this condition, so I'll let the dude know that he has a bent shaft, and he'll use this lawnmower until it shakes itself apart. Thanks for watching, folks.